representing Great Britain, Nicola.
Sarah Attar from Saudi Arabia getting a big reception here.
Nathalie du Toit making her long-awaited debut here in Beijing.
First ever refugee Olympic team led out by Rose Lokonyan. What a sight.
Qualifying for the Olympics and competing on the world stage are monumental achievements. But the journey doesn't end there. The aftermath of such feats brings its own set of challenges and triumphs. The impact of these firsts ripples through the athletes' personal lives and extends to a global audience, influencing perceptions and inspiring future generations, both inside and outside of sport. From the euphoria of their accomplishments to the challenges of adjusting to life after the Games, we delve into the profound impact of their journeys. Episode 4, The Immediate Aftermath.
There's always that meme that goes around every Olympics where it says a regular person should compete in every event just to show how exceptional all of these athletes are. And I always kind of joke like, okay, everyone go watch like my 800-meter race or go watch my marathon because I'm decently average runner, like qualify for Boston and compete in college and, you know, have a lot of fun doing it. But if you want to see kind of that discrepancy, like, check out my races, you know, it's pretty funny.
Imagine yourself in Sarah Attar's shoes. You're 19 years old, at college, you've just finished your first ever marathon, and suddenly you're selected to run for your country at the Olympic Games, halfway around the world, with less than 2 months to train.
It took me a while to embrace that label of Olympian, even though obviously, like, I knew that in my head, that it was true and that didn't take away from anything. I didn't feel like I worked so hard for like my whole life for 4 years and achieved this like qualification and went through the whole process. Like I just kind of ended up there. And so I think it took me a bit to really put on that label. So it also really helped illuminate for me that it can be so much more than just landing on the podium, just the years spent competing. Like that, obviously all that is very significant and really matters. But in addition, there are these storylines that are significant because of what they mean and the ripples that they have. And sometimes those don't involve years of training. And that is still just as significant.
It's often said that it's the taking part that counts. But in Sarah's case, coming last, but being the first, meant more than just participating.
After the race was just the most relief, but then there was still so much attention. Like I think my name was trending on Twitter during the race. That kind of speaks to just the amount of eyes and energy that I was kind of intaking during that. So I think it was just a lot of like processing, decompressing.
And once again, welcome aboard. Keep your seatbelt fastened and while the seatbelt sign is on, your comfort.
It was a pretty quick turnaround from like the race to when I was back diving right into my junior year of college right after getting home from the Olympics. Was pretty crazy, also really fun, you know, like I went straight into cross country camp that year, which was on Catalina Island with my cross country team at Pepperdine. And we had a big freshman class coming in that year. And I remember they were all really excited. Like, you know, I'm still processing what just happened. But getting to share that experience and talk about it with folks who witnessed it and were inspired by it, it almost helped make it more real, you know, instead of just seeing a news report or seeing like what happened on the media through that perspective, like getting to talk to my teammates and hear what they felt watching the race. I've met people over the last 12 years who tell me that they were in the stadium watching that race when, you know, it ends up coming up about my story. That's always really special. I've spoken at some of my cousins' schools in Saudi Arabia and just getting to hear from them about what that meant. And, you know, I remember I started one of my talks, you know, I'm in this auditorium and have this like room full of young girls. And I started out saying like, who here wants to go to the Olympics one day? And literally like everyone raised their hand. and we're like yelling and, just excited. And that moment was one of the more significant ones in my life. Just one, getting that connection, but two, just seeing, wow, there's a whole generation now that grows up with that being an option. Like, that's a reality that they can strive for, and they're excited about it. And I get to tell my story with them and relate to them, and they get to see that, they get to witness that. And that just really helps emphasize that's why I did that, and I got to experience that firsthand and see how much it meant. And people tell me they started running because they saw my race or because of my story, and it's so special.
Sarah witnessed the power of her first in the achievements of those she inspired, as did Natalie du Toit, who retired from professional sport in 2012. Yet despite competition being firmly in her past, it was easy for her to see the importance of her first on others.
In the years that I had become disabled and where open water became a sport, we didn't really have those big teams that all the other countries had. A lot of them traveled with managers, coaches, and it was actually extremely important. We had a swimmer that actually passed away in one of the open water races, and it became mandatory that teams had to actually travel with swimmers. I always look at my personal team as my team because, they really went above and beyond trying to break barriers. We talk about breaking glass ceilings, It is, how do you achieve all of that and try and be at the top without a lot of sort of help? And again, that is where I relied and I think extremely heavily on my close support system, because a lot of people say that swimming is an individual sport. It really isn't. It is, everybody that works together at achieving one dream. If your coach must be aligned, your qualification criteria, your traveling, everything needs to be linked. And, I think for that, it was tough, but it is a journey that when one achieves, you look back and you think, we just had the small team. We weren't really a country as such when we traveled, but we competed as a country. And I think, even after the Olympic Games, there's the aftermath, as a lot of people would call it. But for us, we had focus for the Paralympics, and again, it was just that small team that was working to what are we going to do? How are we going to do it in order to stay in China or stay in Beijing for, the Paralympic Games? So there was a lot to that journey. And I know that as much as, we often didn't have our South African team around us, I know that for me, it was important to have that personal team.
One of the oldest members of her team, her coach, Karoli von Toros, was integral throughout her career, from transitioning into senior competitions to navigating her amputation and finally realising her Olympic dream.
Natalie was a big part of my life because Natalie was my success story. Because I had Olympic homes with Natalie, and she had a place between the able-bodied swimmers in the final, That was the biggest thing, was bigger than winning Paralympics, you understand? Make world championship open water, she was fourth with one leg. That is incredible.
The fruits of all that hard work, understandably, had a massive impact on everyone around her.
In 2004 and 2008, I was with the South African Olympic team. I was not with the Paralympians. So I sent that my assistant coach. Obviously, on the two first Paralympics, I wasn't there, but she invited me in London, the last Paralympian Games she participated, that I should be there. And that was the most emotional moment in my life. Natalie was winning again 3 Paralympian golds. And after the medal giving, she came to the coach's stress, and as she didn't go with the medalists, she turned back and she came to me, gave me the flowers, and she hugged me. And that was, I was crying. It was so emotional.
The aftermath of Natalie's achievement at the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Beijing and her incredible final performance at the Paralympics in London stretch far wider than just her friends and family.
Natalie Du Toit takes gold from lane 4. What a service she's done for her sport and Paralympics.
Following the Paralympic Games London 2012, 20 million UK residents positively changed their attitudes towards people with a disability. Alongside changing prejudice, there has been increased funding and participation growing year on year. It is the firsts, like Natalie, that drive things forward.
So a lot of the time, one doesn't realize that you're breaking down barriers, I think, while they're happening. And there are a lot of people working behind the scenes to create that visibility, to create those abilities for people like me to come and compete and to have that opportunity to compete. But it has been amazing to see how, for example, when I started, I had to belong to an able-bodied club and a disabled club. And now they're together. And you can have both of them in one club. You can take part in certain events and it's ratified because they have a classifier that's there. They have an official that's there. To see all of that happen, I don't necessarily look at it as I'm breaking down barriers, but we've been part of that, and we've been part of that conversation, and part of, everything that's happening right now can be based off of history and how things worked or how people felt. I often felt, that we went out and we were just these showcase events, but it also gave me that opportunity to compete in able-bodied. It was a step in the direction of me believing that I had a dream and that I could achieve that dream, and doing so for my country as well. So, with that, there's a lot that is positive for me. And hopefully lots more barriers will be broken coming into the future.
Firsts are synonymous with breaking barriers, and in many cases, smashing the glass ceiling. Up until 1998, it was illegal for women in the UK to box professionally. Even after it was legalised, lack of access to funding and support kept many from competing. Simply by taking to the ring, Nicola Adams shattered perceptions of who is allowed to compete and succeed in sport.
At the time, I was just really concentrating on, I just want to win a gold medal. I wasn't really thinking about the history, and it wasn't till after I won that it started to sink in, like, oh wow, like I've just made history. This is the first time that this has ever been done.
A trip to a local shopping centre helped the magnitude of her achievement sink in and opened her eyes to the possibilities of a remarkable legacy.
All the other athletes had told me that once you get your medal, you need to go into Westfield and just stand there and hold your medal up and just see what happens. And they were like, it's just insane. You just get completely swamped. So I was like, right, got my medal, went into Westfield, hold my medal up, and that was it. I just got completely mobbed. It was crazy. Security had to take me out. Like, I knew they said it was going to be intense, but I didn't think it was going to be like that. It was a really weird experience, actually, going from hardly anybody knowing who I was to then people around the world knowing who I am. It was so bizarre just walking down the street and people would be like, oh my God, that's Nicola Adams, or oh, can I have your photograph, or can I have an autograph? It took a while to get used to. I had one little girl, I think she was about 5, and she said she'd been doing ballet for the past 3 years. And she saw me win a gold medal, and now she's taking up boxing. So I was like, that was awesome to hear. That was great.
But with Nicola's newfound fame came a new responsibility.
I could definitely feel the pressure of lifting women's boxing up, but I also thrive under pressure as well. Like I like the pressure. It makes me perform better. It was just nice to be finally seen, and my sport to be finally seen and to be taken seriously. And then there was also a 50% increase in women's boxing as well, which was fantastic. All the girls at home that saw me win a gold medal in the Olympics all wanted to be boxers now.
The Olympic movement is built on competition, but made by cooperation. The principles at the core of the Olympic and Paralympic Games have nurtured a platform from which the spotlight of the world stage can be focused on issues that go beyond sport, shaping perceptions and highlighting global issues. Rose Lokonyan, the first flag bearer for the refugee Olympic team, felt this power firsthand.
After meeting some of the athletes, they were like, hey, are you guys from refugee team? Oh, can I take a picture with you? It's first time, they have never heard of that team. So can we have a picture? Can you have fun? Like, they have to ask the meaning of a refugee and where are you guys from? We see it's a mixed team and we have different countries. We have Syrian, Congo, Ethiopia, and South Sudan.
This collaboration of the world's displaced people became a symbol of hope for all refugees, helping to highlight the magnitude of the global refugee crisis. Thanks to the efforts of Tegla Lorupe's Peace Foundation, the International Olympic Committee and the courageous athletes of the Refugee Olympic Team, the search term refugee increased by 276% during Rio 2016. But for Rose, in the immediate aftermath, there was little time to relax from the race.
After the race, I say, thank you, God, I finished it. After that, you have to face the journalist. You are so tired and someone will be like, how do you feel about the race? How do you feel about your time? Oh, Rose, how are you? How do you feel? How was the race like? I just want to lie down. I don't want someone to come and ask me questions. Let me relax. And of course, you have to answer some question at the point. You have to face all these challenges before you move out of the stadium.
After facing a barrage of questions, Rose found solace in the fact that she had not only finished the race, but also achieved her personal best time.
I think I cut from 2:22 to 2:16. I think that was a great achievement. I cut some second and they were so happy. So they say oh, that's so good. How do you manage to cut all this second? I said, I didn't even know. My aim was just to run and finish the race. That's it.
However, amidst her happiness lingered the new weight of responsibility.
I feel pressured because they will be like, why didn't you represent your country? What makes you being in that team? How did you feel? All this pressure. And then you know what? I find my place there and I love the team. This is what makes me who I am now. And I have to represent the people around the world because you are one of them, being in a refugee camp like others. So our aim is to give hope to all other refugees around the world. And it's just actually give the message so that we have young generation that will come after us and they can able to show their talents to the world. So the team refugees is to sharpen the mind of the people around the world. Refugees are also a human being, that they have the rights and also they got talents, they can go to school, they can do anything like any other people. The only thing that they run from their country doesn't mean they can't do anything. They can due to their hard works and everything as long as you focus, because no one chooses to be a refugee. What is the cause of being a refugee? What led that person leave the country and go to another country? They have to do a research and know. So this is how people become refugees, because you can see what is going on around the world. If you're focusing and listen to the news, then you will know, okay, this is the cause of being a refugee.
With her newfound platform, Rose aimed to sharpen the minds of displaced people around the world, emphasising that refugees could achieve their dreams through perseverance, and urging the general public to contemplate the root causes of displacement and the plight of people like her.
Anything can happen to anyone. For me, the size of the running and all this being a flag bearer, it's something that I come to realize, we give hope to the other refugees. That just carry the symbol of hope to all the other refugees around the world. We just tell ourselves that you have to believe in yourself, whatever you're doing, because anything can be possible. And through your hard work, discipline, everything, you have a great future. You have to follow your dream, that one day, one time, your dream will come true.
The first effect of Sarah, Natalie, Nicola and Rosie's achievements extends beyond personal triumphs, impacting society at large.
I'm John O'Mahony. I'm an economist at Deloitte in Australia.
For over 15 years, John O'Mahony has been analysing how economics affects businesses, governments and everyday life. He's dedicated the last 6 months to research both the impact and the legacy of the first effect. motivated by his own love for the Games.
I know from first-hand experience just what Olympics can mean for a city and what it can mean for individuals as well. People around Sydney, the city where I live, still say on any good evening when they're in the city, they say to themselves, it's just like the Olympics. It was a time when our society seemed friendlier, our transport seemed to run better, and when our economy was humming. There is something about everything coming together well. That is what the Olympics is all about, and that was certainly Sydney's experience. Along with my brother and our friends, I remember vividly just being able to enter an arena and see the Olympics firsthand. It's a lot more than just going to another sporting event, and it's something that you keep with you forever.
But as John O'Mahony knows only too well, with any worldwide event, there will always be critics.
Probably the other thing I'd say colloquially to you is there's actually a bit of cynicism locally in the lead up to the Olympics because there's construction issues and people are saying, oh, you know, it's just a big event, are we wasting money? It's funny, all the cynicism predates the Olympics, but when it's on, it just a switch flicks and suddenly everybody is kind of like, this is great, we're in this together. And afterwards, like I don't think I've ever heard someone say something negative about the Olympics in 24 years since. No, not a single person.
Because of his own experience in the aftermath of the Olympic Games in Sydney, O'Mahony is perfectly placed to analyse the impact and power of the first effect.
The Olympics has been analysed for over a century, both from a sporting perspective and also from an economic perspective, principally how it affects host countries and can create economic activity. What we've done with the first effect is we've tried to create a new metric for success beyond the podium to try to measure the transformative impact of what we call other firsts and how they have impacts on societies and on economies. The value of this research is broader awareness of the value of the Olympics and the Paralympics as a big driver of social change and creator of value in our society. To think of the Olympics as just a sporting event is to sell it short, to only measure the economic impact of the Olympics and Paralympics according to the stadiums that are built or the tickets that are sold, again, underestimates the true value of this movement. Because by analysing these other firsts, whether it's a change in society, new technology, or environmental achievements, there's so much more value that comes from the Olympics and Paralympics than just looking at who won the gold medals, who's the top of the tally. By understanding this more broadly, we can understand a really important social driver of change.
In the next episode of The Green Room, Bigger Questions, we explore the legacy of firsts and how they can change the world.
This car full of 20-something-year-old guys comes up next to me yelling at me, who are you? What do you think you're doing out here? You shouldn't be out here.
We met with Ban Ki-moon of the Secretary of UN. We met with the Pope Francis.
I think what really opened my eyes was when I actually saw that kids now learn about me in school.
To listen to more episodes of this series, or to find regular episodes of The Green Room, where we explore the topics that matter most in business, search The Green Room by Deloitte, wherever you get your podcasts, or find us on YouTube at Deloitte UK.